Hi, everybody. I am just so excited for you guys to all meet Danette if you haven't already, or hear her kind of latest thinking around data quality and AI if you're already familiar with her. Yeah, that's it. I will turn it over to Danette.
Great, thank you. So, I'm here to talk with you about data quality, my favorite subject in the whole world. Thank you, Nicole, and for all of you for taking an hour out of your day to come and join me here. I will say just a little bit about myself. So, I have been in data quality for plus years. I am as enthusiastic about it now as I was when I first got introduced to the idea of data quality. I call myself a second generation pioneer because I learned from three gentlemen in the US who, in the late 80s and early 90s, were the ones that first brought visibility to data quality as something that was important and worthy of skills. And there's knowledge that goes along with being able to handle data quality. And I got to learn from all three of them: Larry English, Tom Redmond, and Rich Wayne. And so I have my own innovations. So the 10 Steps to Quality Data is what we're going to be talking about today. I have a book that I've written, and you'll see a little bit about that outlines the methodology. But yeah, let's start talking about data quality in the context of AI. So, artificial intelligence, AI, it is everywhere and seems to be top of mind for everyone. Lots of different avenues and different kinds of technologies and lots of different uses of the artificial intelligence. Generative AI a few years ago when Chat GPT hit the scene, they really should have had this message that they have up there now, or at least recently when I looked at that. While we have safeguards, Chat GPT may give you inaccurate information. It's not intended to give advice. That isn't what happened when they first came out, and I had to go through several clicks and tiny font for them to say, hey, Chat GPT it was basically a beta version that they put out to the world. And yet people don't know that they should be looking or maybe questioning the results of that. Agentic AI is something more recent, using AI to be built into these agents who do work for people. So it doesn't matter which aspect of AI we're talking about, data quality is very important. Let's look at a few statistics here. Data quality issues, most significant data priority for 43% of chief operations officers. Concerns about data accuracy or bias, a leading barrier to scaling. Data readiness, biggest obstacle to AI. And from one Forrester survey, without intervention, the AI era could turn millions in data quality losses into billions. And you will be getting a copy of the slides after, and you can look at the sources here and read up on some of those articles. So, really, I don't think there are any experts that disagree with the statement that the quality, reliability, and trustworthiness of AI outputs depend on the underlying data. And as big as AI is, and it may be that AI was your driver for thinking about data quality, but yet we can't forget that we all depend on data in many different ways. So just a few examples. Poor quality data contributed to a gas explosion. Watched on TV as there had been an explosion across the bay. I was living in the San Francisco Bay at the time. My husband and I are watching TV. We watched on the news as it broke in 90 minutes. Flames were going hundreds of feet in the air for 90 minutes. Why did those flames continue? It was because they did not know the location of the shut-off valve. They could not turn off the flow of the gas. I looked at that and I thought, I wonder if I'm the only person in the world who realizes that data quality contributed to this horrific thing. And of course, there were a lot of inquiries, and they did recognize that data quality was a big contributor to the problems here. They had pipes. There are seamed pipes and unseamed pipes. They didn't know the type of pipes, different kind of maintenance schedules for different kinds of pipes. They didn't have the maintenance schedule. So there was just much related to data quality that fed into this tragedy. Here's something else: healthcare information. This happened to my husband. You go to the doctor the night before the surgery, update all the information. They say, we'll go to the hospital, go to the hospital. The data is not updated. We update it again at the check-in desk, and then it's used elsewhere in the hospital. And I'm sitting in the waiting room while the surgery is going on, looking at the status screen, and names were wrong again. All of that leads you to go, I really hope they did the surgery on the correct body part. So, healthcare data, really important. And here's one. The impact of this was much less, but it just gives an example of the huge variety of places where we see data quality problems. When the second edition of my book that outlines my methodology, 10 Steps to Quality Data, the machine learning algorithm at this major bookseller assigned the wrong label to the book. I happened to notice it. We were able to get it fixed, but just this small issue took 6 weeks to track down many people between myself, the publisher, the bookseller. So many different ways that we depend on data as just consumers. Now, within a company, this might sound familiar. We have a bunch of people that get together. There are important decisions to make. Everybody has their own reports. And instead of making important decisions about what are we going to do, what direction, where are we going to focus resources, people end up arguing about whose reports are right because the numbers are differing. So therefore, we can't make these important decisions if we can't trust that information that is feeding into those decisions. Delayed decisions, wasted time, lots of rework. You know how hard it is to get people together, frustration, and the most important thing is there's no useful action. And it probably sounds familiar. Now, here's another common data problem. Here's some folks over here. The most accurate data is in the new final spreadsheet or the new final revised final spreadsheet. And somebody over here is, I'm actually working on the new final revised final spreadsheet. And lowered productivity, lots of frustration in this example. Now, we had COVID-19 pandemic, and I think for me, it really unleashed an infodemic in our world. I'm going to give you definitions of two types of information, misinformation and disinformation. I think it's helpful as data professionals to think about the distinction between them because there'll be some slightly different things that we need to do if we think it's one or the other. Misinformation, people inadvertently share information that is false, but it was not created or shared with the intention of causing harm. Now, let's talk about disinformation. People purposely spread false information deliberately created to mislead, harm, or manipulate a person, social group, organization, or country. Now, as people talk in the media, not everyone uses these words with these very same definitions. But as I said, it's helpful for us to think about it as data professionals. I would say most of my work over the years has been focused on this idea of people are trying to do their job. People come in every day and try to do the right thing. That's the misinformation. But from a data quality point of view, we also need to account for the fact that there might be disinformation. And therefore, there may be some additional things that we do on top of the work that we do that I'm really going to be focusing on with the 10 steps. For data to be used effectively, two questions have to be answered yes. Is the data of high quality? Is it an accurate representation of what happened in the real world? Is it available when needed? And I'll talk about that in just a moment. Do we trust the data? Do we have confidence in the data? Do we believe that the data is of high quality? Now, we could have the best quality data, but if the people that are using that data don't trust it, they still will not use it. So, really, data quality and trust have to go hand in hand. So how do we recognize that good information or high quality data? We can find what we need. That means we can get to it. We can access it. It's available when we need it. It's timely. It's not late. It includes everything we need, so nothing is missing. It is secure, meaning it's safe from unauthorized access and manipulation. We understand it. Like when this is presented to it, I can interpret it correctly and it's correct. And so I have a specific meaning about that. It is an accurate reflection of what is happening or did happen in the real world. Now, because of all of these things, we hope that we can trust the data when we get it and we can use it with confidence. So simply put, right information, right time and place, right people to take care of. There's a variety of business needs. Your customers provide products and services and all the things that we need to do to run our organizations. So my simple definition, the degree to which information and data can be a trusted source for any and or all required uses. Fit for purpose is one that people often use. I know there's a difference between data and information, but the 10 steps methodology that we're talking about today, it's a doing methodology. I only make a slight distinction between data and information. Data meaning the facts or the items of interest, whatever it is you care about. Information meaning facts or items of interest in context. Use the words that resonate with your audience. That's what I'm really bound to. This is a broad generalization. If you're talking with someone from the technology group and you're talking about fields and columns and rows, and maybe data is the word that's more resonant. If I'm talking with someone about a report and the information they're looking at, maybe information is more important. There are not hard and fast rules there, but use the words that resonate with your audience. So when I very first started with data quality, I would say data quality, and then I could tell people had no idea what I meant. So one day I says, the data is real. It's an accurate reflection of the real world, and it's up to date, and it's relevant. It's really the things that we care about. And boom, the light bulb went on. So I started using the 3 R's, real, recent, and relevant, just to help people understand what did I mean when I said data quality or when I said information quality. It was interesting because other people started using the 3 R's. So I knew I had hit on something that people could understand because it was easy enough and concise enough that other people could help carry the message. And that is also something that in certain circumstances, you can't carry the message of data quality all yourself. You're going to need other people to help you. So this is the first really small example of why communication is so important. And we will be talking some more about that as we go through. I've defined what data and information are, but what if they're not good? What if we have poor quality data and information? This yellow circle is what I call evidence. These are things that we see every day in our organizations: unhappy customers, security breaches, conflict, waste of time, rework, non-compliance with legal requirements, delayed decisions, distrust. It goes on and on. These happen all the time in our organizations, but very often people do not look at those and recognize that there is a data component to that. And then, of course, just like you drop a pebble into the water and the ripples go out, all of these things that we say then move out and turn into increased risk, higher costs, lower profits, and decreased revenue. So it's important for data professionals like yourself, no matter your title. For this hour, I'm going to call you a professional. Okay, so what you might be the only person in your area of your organization who is thinking about data the way we are talking about this today. You might be the only ones who are fine-tuning your data quality eyes and ears so you can recognize these things that everyone sees, but you might be the only one who says, there is a data and information component to this, and we need to address it in order to find solutions to these problems. So to address data and information quality, you have to be able to see the problem. You have to be able to think about the problem. And we will talk about understanding some concepts in a minute. You need to be able to see, think about it well before you can really act effectively on the problem. Bottom line, data and information used constantly every day by people. They could be customers, clients, employees, business partners, and machines. Lots of automated things going on with machines when making decisions and taking action. Why do all of these things happen? To meet our organization's business needs. So I'm going to define this term business needs really quickly. This is an overarching term that I use for you to think about what are the most important things that our organization does to satisfy customers, provide products and services, manage risk, increase business value. Those are all things our organization wants to do. In order to do that, what do? We implement strategies, we achieve goals, we address issues, we take advantage of opportunities. I define and emphasize these business needs because anything that we do around data and around data quality has to be to meet our organization's business needs. At any point in time, some of this high level list, some are more important than at other times and priorities change, but always our data work has to be tied in and making sure we as data professionals know what is important to our business. So the question, is your data up to the task? If it's not, help is here. We are going to talk the rest of the time about the 10 steps methodology. The full name of the methodology, 10 steps to quality data and trusted information. That is the subtitle of the book, Executing Data Quality Projects. This is the second edition. We have a Chinese translation available, Japanese version, and the Spanish translation is underway and will be coming out soon. So it's really clear that data quality, it is a global issue, and we all can help each other with that. Okay, so what do? We need to have good solutions to deal with our business problems. And we see a business problem, and sometimes someone will say, it's just a process problem. If we get our processes better, we're going to take care of everything. Okay, yeah, processes are part of it. Let's focus on the people. Yeah, we need training. Okay, yes, that is absolutely right. That is part of it. We need the right roles and responsibilities and organizational structure. And somebody else is saying, I want a tool. If we just buy this tool, all of our problems will be taken care of. So what I'm saying here is we will be addressing these things. We do need to address these things when we address data quality because processes, people, technology, all of these things have to be working together for the output of high quality data that we can use with confidence. So by adding in that data point of view, people are used to talking about process, people, and technology. By adding data into that, we provide this horizontal view that pulls all of these things together. And we will be addressing issues that we find in any of these areas because we're taking that data point of view. Because so often I hear people saying, if we could just buy the right tool, I don't think data people say that, but let's say I think people around you might be saying that. Obviously, the right technology and tools are essential, but they're not the end of the story. So I'm quoting myself in a couple places here where I talk really hard about how I want to say it. Thinking the right tool will take care of all your data quality problems is like believing the right x-ray machine will make you healthy. We all know just having an x-ray machine is not going to make me healthy. There's a lot of things that I need to do that the x-ray machine can't do. However, at the right time and place, in the right hands, people with expertise, that x-ray machine is very essential. A hammer does not make you a carpenter, but you can't be a good carpenter without a hammer. So you have to know how to use the tools. Now, I really like this one. Martin Obio from ExxonMobil. Tools are not solutions. Solutions are solutions. And sometimes solutions include tools. So I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea that I'm against tools or technology. I am not. I am saying they are part of a solution, part of that whole equation. So I think it's useful before we go into talking more about the 10 steps to talk a little bit about data governance. So I started doing data governance before data governance was even a term. Yes, I'm dating myself, but I'm okay with that. I expect what is often called data governance now covers things like abilities, who's accountable for the data, who has the right to make decisions. How are these various people going to get together and interact and make decisions about our data? What kind of communication paths do we have? Who needs to know? And escalation. I like people to make decisions as close to the action as possible, but sometimes if people of good intent really can't come to a decision, maybe we need to have an escalation path. So I expect data governance, as we know it more today, can help us with these things. But for any data quality work, we actually really need to know those. So if you have a formalized data governance program, great. Make use of the fact that they know people, they have venues set up for people to sit together, make decisions. If you don't have a formalized data governance program, start with a data quality project. You're going to have to figure these things out within the scope of that data quality project. And then maybe you can use what you learned in that data quality project as a jumping off point to build a data governance program. Or if you have the formalized one there already, you may learn new things, find new people that need to be pulled into that whole data governance conversation. Data governance and quality really going hand in hand. The 10 steps methodology that we're going to talk about, it is worth mentioning where it fits within all the other resources that we have. So where does the 10 steps fit in with all the other kind of good resources that we have? There are a lot of good resources out there that talk about concepts and ideas. So for example, DAMA International has a data management body of knowledge, and you can't see it, it's really tiny, but data governance is here in the middle, and there are a number of different functional areas, and data quality is one of those. I don't have a problem at all with how that is shown. I do believe that anyone who is in data management, fundamentally, whether you're an architect, whether you're making a data model, whether you're looking at master data, whatever it is you're doing, why are you doing the work you're doing? It's because we want high quality data that we can trust and use with confidence. So every single function will get some value from knowing some of these concepts and ideas that sometimes we label data quality. Okay, so concepts and ideas. Now, at the other end, really deep detail for other aspects of data quality and management. Maybe there's a whole book on data profiling or a whole book on information lifecycle management for big data. So many good books out there. But when I first came out with this methodology, the first edition came out in and I recognized that there was a gap in our data quality literature. I understand that we need data quality, and here's all this really good detail, but how do I get started? What do I do? That's where the 10 steps comes in. It's a really good how-to. I see that as a roadmap that helps you go. It bridges the gap between concepts and details, and even though we cover some of the concepts, if you want to know more about concepts, I wholeheartedly say go reach into some of these other resources, get more information on concepts, or if the instructions and the examples that I give you in the book for these various aspects of data quality, if you need even more, great. Go out there, reach out there, use that to help you. But come back to the 10 steps because it will keep you on track. This is so important. When we get into looking at data, there are so many fingers out, and I don't want you to start wandering around in the forest. Don't get lost in the trees. That's really where this 10 steps fits in and really excels on keeping you on track with where you want to go. In the second edition, I have what I call 10 steps in action call out boxes, which I really like. So if you're trying to get ideas of how the 10 steps can be applied, this 10 steps in action, these call out boxes show different examples, different types of organizations in different countries in the world, small uses of the 10 steps and big uses, because I really emphasize the 10 steps, very scalable, very flexible. They can be used against just a myriad of data quality issues that you're going to find. I feel very confident in saying 10 steps applies no matter what kind of organization, country, culture, or language. So I just mentioned that. So it doesn't matter industry, for-profit, government, education, healthcare, nonprofits, it's going to work. Any type of data. If you have a data catalog and you're worried about the quality of the data in your data catalog, use the 10 steps. You have a metadata repository, use the 10 steps if you're concerned about the quality of that. So any set of data you can apply this 10 steps against, and any type of data, any volume of data, any kind of technology associated with the data. It's that fundamental, that scalable and flexible. It's worth noting this data in action triangle. Data quality in general is put into practice through programs, projects, and operational processes. At some point in time, to sustain data quality, you're going to want to address all of these. And the book really uses projects as the vehicle for illustrating the data quality work. And I use projects very broadly. But once you learn the methodology, projects are a good way to start. There's no 1, 2, or 3. You can start anywhere that you want on this triangle, but at some point in time, you need to address all of them to sustain data quality. So once you learn it, you can apply those same ideas to operational processes. You can use that to incorporate into an overall approach for an ongoing program so that people are speaking the same language. They've got that same vocabulary, and you have a common approach to your data quality work. And you will note down here on a few of the slides, I have an icon of the book. And if you wanted more information on the data in action triangle, it'll show the pages there. So I mentioned project used as a vehicle for data quality work. You have to really expand your definition of the word project. So as I explain these 3 project types, think briefly about the kind of problems that you're trying to solve in your organization and how you're going to solve them. Maybe you have we know it's a data quality problem. We have a data lake. We thought it was going to be great, and now it is just a data swamp. We got to focus. Focus data quality improvement project. Data quality activities in another project. This is one where you're going to see if you can get data quality activities into these broader projects. Very often they're considered a technology project. Data quality is not the main focus, but we're putting in a new platform. We are moving data from legacy platforms into this new platform. It's really all about data, but people don't often talk about it as a data project. With the 10 steps, you can use that. You can take out techniques within the 10 steps and you integrate that into whatever your project approach is. Whatever software development lifecycle, it can be agile, it can be some kind of vendor methodology. You pull those out and you incorporate those. And then once you've learned, there's just ad hoc use of just some of the data quality steps, activities, or techniques that are in the 10 steps. So you've got some good context and background for the 10 steps methodology. So I'm going to talk to you about the way I mainly categorize the overall methodology, and I'm going to do that with food. We're going to have some friends over. Why are we doing that? We want to eat some good food. We want to enjoy each other's company. Let's say that I'm going to be doing the cooking. If I'm going to be doing the cooking, there's certain terms and techniques that I need to know. Like my mom was the world's best candy maker, and she'd cook this sugar syrup, and the recipe would say the soft ball stage. I'm not going to go into the details on what that is, but if you're cooking and you're following the recipe and it says cook to the softball stage and you have no idea what that is, by the time you run off, you read up, you try to find out what the softball stage is, you've already ruined the candy. So it's the same idea with the 10 steps methodology. There are key concepts that we know. Remember I said we need to know how to not only see that data is part of a problem, but we have to know how to think about that. And that's where these key concepts or terms or techniques come in. Let's say I'm planning the event for people to get together. What's the menu? Where is it going to be? How many people? Whom I can invite? Do I have any dietary restrictions? This is similar to any of our data work, what I call structuring your project. Remember, I use the word project broadly. You could substitute the phrase organizing your work. How are you going to organize your work? I am not going to try to replace any kind of project management, agile methodology detail, other than you need to have your approach. And we take those approaches that we use for managing a project, we apply those to data quality projects in the same also. They're no different. And then the day of the party comes, we're going to prepare the food. I follow the recipe, but I can adjust that recipe for how many people are going to be there. I can adjust it for any kind of dietary restrictions. That's where the 10 steps process comes in, for which the whole methodology is named. Concrete instructions, like a recipe, concrete instructions. There's examples, there's templates, there's best practices. And why do we do that? We need high quality data so we can make informed decisions and take effective actions for whatever it is that our business cares about. Okay, so let's spend just a few minutes talking through the 10 steps process at a high level. Number 1, determine business needs and approach. So I've already touched on that, where I defined business needs, those things that our organizations care about. Even if you're a nonprofit, you have things you care about. You have a mission that you want to accomplish. So we need to know what those business needs are. We need to be able to attach them to the data quality work that we're doing. We need to make sure that they are in sync. And approach is simply, how am I organizing my work? How am I structuring my project? Next, we go into analyzing the information environment. Okay, the easiest way to think about this is there's a murder, there's a body, it's lying in the park. If the police are doing their job, what would they do? And if we were in person, or if we had more time, we'd have more of a conversation back and forth. You've all seen the crime scene shows, right? So the police come in, they're going to cordon off the area, they're going to take pictures, they're going to look for evidence, they're going to look for witnesses, they're going to interview them. They're going to look at the time of day, like where was this person coming from? Why were they in the park right there at that time? Where were they going? So these are all the things that you would expect to happen at a crime scene. We have all kinds of data quality crime scenes. And what happens too often is we've got this data quality crime, somebody goes in, they just correct the data and be done with it. And then we wonder why we keep having all these data quality crime scenes. What we have to do is we say, here's a problem. What's going on around it? What specific data are we looking at? Do we have any data specifications like data models, business rules, data standards, metadata that we should know about? Do we have any requirements and constraints that could inform what we should know about what that data should look like? Which people are involved? What are the processes? Where are we in the organization? What technology is involved? Where are we in the information lifecycle? All of those things I just mentioned are what we're talking about, the information environment. This is really essential to going into the next steps, which is I want to actually look at the data itself, which is the assessing of the data quality. We have what we call dimensions. We don't have time to get into those today, but we have dimensions of data quality, different aspects or features or characteristics. And we address those with various tools, different approaches, maybe different kinds of knowledge. It helps you be able to break down in actuality, like how do I actually approach this work? And then assessing business impact, I have a set of business impact techniques. So if people start asking questions like, why do you care about data quality? Why do you want to do this project? I don't see the value in that. That is a time to go into step 4, look at this selection of business impact techniques. I'm not claiming they're the only ones, but they're really good ones that have proven themselves in data quality situations. Now, assess business impact is step 4, but anytime along the 10 steps, if you start getting pushback, if you sense resistance, if you're trying to build support, you just reach into step 4, and if there's something there that can help you, whether you're in step 1 or if you're in step 9. So we have found where the data quality problems are. We've got the location, we've got the magnitude. Out of those most important ones, and don't be surprised if there's so many that you have to do some prioritization. Let's identify root causes. From the root causes, now we need to develop improvement plans. What are we going to do about the root causes of the problems that we found? Now, these improvement plans need to include 2 different aspects. One is, how do we prevent these future data errors from occurring, and how do we correct them? So definitely it's both of those. Both aspects need to be taken into account here in step 6. Step 7 and step 8 are where we actually do the work to prevent the data errors, where we actually do the work to correct the current data errors. Now, out of all the things that we've learned here, we may have found some data that is so important to us that we really need to keep visibility to the quality of that data. So if something changes in our process, something changes in the world that changes what's happening with our data, we want to have visibility to that. That is an example of monitoring. We might want to monitor that and put some kinds of controls into place. So monitor controls is really a handshake. If you remember that triangle: projects, operational processes, programs, the monitoring step 9 is really a handshake into ongoing operational process. Are there any kind of controls that we have put into place into our operational processes? And then we can see step 10 visually. It is a bar that goes underneath all the other steps. Communicate, manage, and engage people throughout. What this is telling us, we need to do something around data quality every single step along the way. Now, I had somebody once say, hey, isn't somebody going to get tired if I send them an email every day? And it's, wait, I didn't tell you to send an email every day. I told you you need to do something. You need to do something to communicate, manage, and engage with people. That's part of the art of data quality. How are you going to do that? Who are you going to do it with? Listen to what they have to say. It's just we cannot be successful if we do not clearly incorporate this into our data quality work. I did not invent communication. However, I think the 10 steps, if it's not the first, it's one of the first data methodology that clearly incorporates and shows how you can incorporate this whole people aspect of our data quality work. And note down here, iterate among the steps as needed. Yes, it's moving forward. You can see all the arrows moving forward, but it's not like this waterfall that if you move to one and you can never go back. Hey, if I get into assess data quality and there's something about the information environment that I need to know that will help me be able to understand and identify root causes, that's fine. Do that. Do it then. Iterate, but keep yourself moving forward. I do want to point out one thing as it applies to AI. This 10 steps process is not just still relevant with AI, it's even more relevant. And this analyze information environment is going to be really key to all of your AI work. For AI, context is a big piece of it, and we can't go more into that. But everything that you learn about analyzing your information environment is part of that very important context for AI. So just to summarize this, the first 5 steps, really, it's around diagnostics, current state, what is going on. The second half gets into a remediation or an improvement cycle. And I see root causes as being a piece of both of those. After seeing this, I think it's pretty straightforward to people, but I don't want people to get overwhelmed. I have this principle called just enough. Spend just enough time and effort to optimize results. And just enough, it's not, oh, that's good enough. It's not about being sloppy. It's not about cutting corners. With the 10 steps, just enough might mean, oh, I'm going to do this thing and it takes me 2 minutes. I'm going to do this thing, it takes me 2 days or 2 hours. That is, once again, the part of the art of data quality. Quick way to think about that. I have a worldview. My project is going from London to Paris, and a high level view might show people the context of our project within the whole world. Or we can drill down and we can see more of the country view, England and France. And maybe this is good, and maybe I set up some kind of a status report, and the status report is going to show our progress from London into France. And we decided that we're going to be driving, and we'll put the vehicle on the English Channel and we'll drive to Paris. But if I'm on the team, and I don't know the country, is this country view enough detail for me as a team member to drive across the country? It's not. I need something that's going to show the main freeways and thoroughfares. But let's say that the end of the project, I'm driving, it's the end of the project, I go into the streets of Paris, there's a particular intersection there. I have to drive the car up. I get out, I hand the keys to someone else. Okay, great, the project is over. Is the geographic area view enough detail for me to accomplish my work? The answer is no. I need a street level view to get me to that right intersection in Paris. So at different times throughout your work for different people, you are going to need to go to a level of detail that can move between these different levels of detail. So I hope you'll remember that. And I offer this to people. Number one, don't get overwhelmed. Number two, if you are a recovering perfectionist, like I call myself, I do not want you to get stuck in analysis paralysis. I used to think I had to know everything about everything before I could make a decision about anything. Not true. So this just enough detail helps us find a balance between analysis paralysis, but then you don't want the chaos of, oh, just go do this, just go do this. That ready, fire, and then aim. We are trying to find a balance between that. I just wanted to mention really quickly on step 10, it incorporates so many things. You can see the short list here: negotiation, raising awareness, conflict resolution, rewards, motivation, so many things, teamwork, listening. And I used to get a little irritated in my early days of data quality work. It's just, I just want to do the work. Do you want me to do the work? Or you want me to talk about the work? Let me tell you, I had an aha moment. This is part of the work. Do not think about it as something that gets in the way of the work. It is an integral part of your work. Once I realized that, I could let go of any negative energy and put all my energy toward addressing the things that I need to do in order to be successful. A few tips. This will only take a moment. We're used to talking about people, process, technology. I mentioned this at the beginning. Make sure data gets into the conversation. Not to make these three less important, make data equally important. Be ethical in your work. There was a group, it no longer exists, but IQ International, they had a code of ethics and professional conduct. I really like it. It's in the book, and I suggest your team might want to look at that. Maybe you want to talk about that. Maybe you want to write your own code of conduct. Make sure your work is associated with your business needs. Once you learn this, you're going to pick and choose the steps applicable to your project. Look at the right level of detail as I just described to you. Know that you do not have to do everything from scratch. There's going to be 80% of what you already need to know that you've already done or you have documented in some way or somebody already knows it. The beauty of the 10 steps is it brings together existing knowledge in a way that you can understand it better, connections that you may not have seen before, and therefore you are going to come up with better solutions than you ever have before. It's scalable, it's flexible. One person, a few week project, a 3 to 4 month project with a small team, a several month project with a larger team, very scalable and flexible. It will help you make better use of the tools that you have. So think of the 10 steps as the science, I'm using air quotes, but one day you might be doing a mosaic, you might be doing a watercolor, you might be doing an oil painting, you might be embroidering, but whatever it is, you can apply this scalable, flexible methodology to help with your data quality work. So we talked a little bit about food, so let's wrap it up with food. 10 steps, it's a full methodology. It's like this buffet of choices. When you go to a buffet, every time, if you go back to it, it changes what you eat. Depends on the meal, the time of day, how hungry you are, what you're just feeling like. So you got a few bite-sized pieces of many of the dishes within the 10 steps methodology. I encourage people, think about this as something very fundamentally. You will literally be able to use this again and again over the years as different data related situations come up. This simply is just at a glance for each one of the steps. I really feel that data quality can save the world. I used to kid about that. I've done keynotes with that, but I honestly believe it. With this wide view of data quality, so many aspects of this are what we need in our world, and data underlies everything in our world. So I'm pretty confident about that. Hopefully, I've whet your appetite for data quality and using the 10 steps. And just take a moment and think, is there anything even that you just learned today in this time together that you can use and start to apply for your work? Once again, never get overwhelmed. We have a path to go on. There is something that you can learn. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. That's all that we can do. So thank you very much. I appreciate being able to share this.
There were a lot of questions. Yeah, it was really exciting. I'm so grateful to everyone who joined and who shared your perspectives and your questions for Danette.
Might be that I could answer one.
I'll ask this one. I think this is pretty good general question. What changes have you seen over time in people who are hired entirely to focus on data quality? Are you seeing more people hired as data quality engineers, analysts, or other roles with data quality in the title?
That's a really good question. Okay, remember, I've been in this for a long time. So there was a period of time where nobody had data quality in their title. So the fact is that now people do have data quality in their title. I am really big on making sure that we have appropriate training for the main people who affect the quality of the data. If you're creating that, if you're a developer, if you're doing something with the technology, if you're a user, So not everybody needs to have data in the name of their role. So I think there's a lot of people who need to know different things. The 3-day data quality training really are more for people with data in their role and their managers who need to understand what their team is doing so that they can help their team be successful. I think with AI, we're going to see much more of a mix of the skills with the roles, technology and data, technology and data and business. So I will make that quick comment.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's an excellent point. Charles asks, this is a great question. Dot has their 9 DQ dimensions in the DMBOK. If you're familiar with those, Jeanette, can you speak to how relevant those are in real life?
Okay, I will admit I do not have the 9 memorized, but I have
Useful.
a pretty good
Mhm.
idea on what they are.
Yeah.
So, the data quality dimensions, different people have different lists of dimensions. I think it's fine. And I have found them all to be relevant in some way. The important thing to think about the dimensions as it applies to the 10 steps is the 10 steps is a doing methodology. I categorize my dimensions, roughly speaking, by how do you actually assess the quality for that dimension? How do you actually manage the quality for that dimension? So, different tools, different approaches, different techniques. I learn from everybody else's dimensions, and you may find that in my dimensions, for example, data integrity fundamentals, nobody else is going to have a dimension called data integrity fundamentals. But data integrity fundamentals includes things like completeness, validity, and dimensions that you would see in other lists broken out, which is totally fine. Remember, mine's a doing methodology. We can find and we can actually assess the several dimensions that somebody else may break out.
Yeah, the 9 dimensions, and this is just going to be the last thing. Validity, completeness, consistency, integrity, timeliness, currency, reasonableness, uniqueness, and accuracy. So as somebody who does have them memorized, I think they're not the be all end all. So I definitely agree with your assessment there. It's highly project dependent, and there's a lot of cool data quality dimensions. Like you mentioned, Rich Wang. Like we love the strong Wang framework for just different ways of thinking about data quality and the accessibility and how well it represents the data. So
Yeah.
anyway, thank you so much again to everybody who was able to join us. Any closing words, Jeanette, before we wrap up?
No, I'm so happy to see all of you here. If you can't tell, I'm totally enthusiastic about data quality. So join me, learn more about it. Let's all go out and save the world together. How about that?
Love it. Okay. Thank you again, everybody, for coming. This was really awesome, and we look forward to having you back again soon. All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye.